friends, welcome back. I know it has been a little bit of a while, but I needed a little bit of a break, and if you stuck around, I super appreciate it. If you are new to my channel, welcome. We talk all about our love for cozy mysteries here, and I am super excited about today's video because I feel as if it's coming at the perfect time. As I am recording this, daylight saving is ending very soon, this weekend actually, and so I figured what better way to ring in the new season, spring forward, what have you, by talking about spring themed cozy mysteries. Now, if you're not new to my channel, you know that I love doing themed roundups of cozies, and I love reading seasonally, especially when it comes to cozy mysteries. And if you're anything like me, then you are itching for some springtime reads. And if that's the case, then stick around because I've got a roundup for you of spring themed cozies. Okay, so first up we have Scene of the Chime. This is book 22 in the Amish in Mystery series. I have not read all of these. I will go ahead and put that out there now. There are just way too many books in the series, but this one has so many great reviews. So if you are looking for a cozy that's not only set in spring but is also really loved in the cozy community, then check this one out. So as far as plot goes, our amateur sleuth runs an inn, and she ends up coming across some mysterious boxes, or boxes that were owned by the previous owner, and so she ends up calling them up, telling them that she's got some of their previous possessions, and if they wanted to come by, to go ahead and do that. They're not really interested, so you know, she figures she can just kind of go on about the rest of her day. But next thing you know, the woman who owns the boxes shows up all of a sudden, and it's a little suspicious. Our sleuth's hairs raise up on the back of her neck because things aren't always what they appear, and she's exactly right, because next thing you know, the woman whose possessions it is, her ex, also comes tagging along. All of these drama things start happening, and then on top of that, and we love this part in cozies, a kind of hidden room appears, or I guess is discovered, and then that sets off this whole chain of events and secrets that essentially are uncovered as in regards to kind of what happened in the past, what that means for the inn, all kinds of good stuff. So like I said, this one is set in the spring. It has so many great reviews because the author is really prolific, especially when it comes to this beloved series. So if that's something that you're into, definitely check it out. Okay, so this next one sounds like so much fun, and it definitely leans into the springtime vibes. It is called Digging Up the Dirt, and this is the third book in the Southern Ladies Mystery series. I'm gonna have to look down because there's so many character names dropped and I can't remember them all, but essentially we've got our sleuthing Southern Belle. So if you're familiar with the series, you'll know that it features kind of like a group of sleuths. We love that. But this time around, our group is getting ready for spring. They are getting ready to be kind of replanting seeds in the community garden, all of those kind of fun things. And then next thing you know, we've got this eligible bachelor coming into town, raising all kinds of ruckus essentially. He's not exactly known for being super popular, but what happens is his sister turns up murdered. And so what we now have to do, or rather our ladies have to do, is really get to the bottom of it. Could the brother be involved? Could it be somebody else? It's a lot of family secrets, which I feel as if it is a theme just based on the book that I previously mentioned, but I really love this series. Well, just because I love groups solving mysteries together, and on top of that, we really lean into the springtime kind of fresh florals, planting garden motif, and if that's something that you're into, this one you also have to add to your TBR. Oh my goodness, you guys. Okay, so this next one is called A Matter of Hive and Death. This is book 2 in the Oregon Honeycomb Mystery series. I read the first book and I absolutely loved it so much. I feel like it's so fun, so fresh. It definitely gives springtime vibes because you are dealing with, you know, bees and pollination, and obviously anything that goes into that just screams spring and summer and flowers and blooms and all of that. First of all, totally recommend book 1. But if you want to dive directly into book 2, that's okay, because it does take place during spring. In this particular one, so let me back up just a little bit. Our amateur sleuth, she owns a like a honey themed shop. So what that means is she sells all kinds of things as it relates to honey, in regards to like locally sourced honey, you know, tchotchkes related to that, you know, candles that are made from beeswax, or you know, manuka honey infused soaps, all of that kind of good stuff. So she really has a pulse on the local apiary kind of scene within the Oregon coast. And in this particular one, the person who winds up dead is a local beekeeper who she obviously is acquainted with. And so she's really determined to get to the bottom of that, because not only was that someone who was important to her in a business sense, but it was also a friend. And yeah, I just love this series so much. The first book that I read did not take place during spring, but I can't help but just really get excited for this one because it takes place during spring. And like I said, it really leans into that with all of the descriptions and such. All right, so continuing the theme, we have next A May Day Murder. This is the 5th book in the Wiccan Wheel mystery series. And this one is perfect for all of you who love witchy, or I don't even want to necessarily say paranormal, but yeah, like witchy vibes when it comes to cozy mysteries, because our amateur sleuth is a practicing Wiccan. She actually is a former attorney, and in this particular one, she's actually having to clear her own name because a friend of hers calls her up. It happens to be a man, and his ex-girlfriend winds up murdered. And so somehow our amateur sleuth is being investigated as a person of interest, and so she is compelled, obviously, to dig in and get to the bottom of things because she wants to clear her own name. But along with that, it is set against the backdrop of Beltane. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But it is a Wiccan holiday that happens around the kind of spring season, where, you know, as most festivals, you are kind of enjoying in all things seasonal and partaking in like dancing and merriment and fresh food and all of that kind of good stuff. But like I said, in addition to the spring backdrop, if you like cozies that feature witches or anything of that nature, then this one has to be up your alley. Next up, we have Murder at a Cape Bookstore. This is book 5 in the Cozy Capers book group mystery series. Say that 5 times fast. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about this series until I saw this book. But I remember picking up the first one years ago because it features a sleuth who runs or owns a bike shop, which I thought was so fun and so quaint. And I believe the first book actually takes place around summer, or like slightly after the summer season. But this one, hold on, let me see. It takes place in Cape Cod, and not only that, but if you are kind of familiar with stories set around that, the communities definitely are small and close-knit, and I absolutely adore that. And speaking of close-knit, in this particular one, we have our amateur sleuth. Her name is Mac. She has a book group, and this is another example of kind of group sleuths because essentially in this one, when someone winds up dead, the book club cannot help themselves but stick their noses in and try to get to the bottom of things. But all of this is happening in March, which is known as, how did the author quote it, as mud season, which I think is so fun. But essentially it's, you know, that kind of transition period between winter and full spring where it's rainy but it's sunny and again muddy, obviously. But on top of that, the community is really getting ready to prepare for their upcoming, I think there's a festival. Yes, because they've got even though there's unpredictable weather, they've got all of these festivities that they're gearing up for, in addition to having to solve this murder. So this one, a lot of fun. I haven't read it admittedly, but if it's anything like the first one, I really love the backdrop. The community is super cozy in the descriptions just because that whole New England vibe really lends itself to being charming for cozies. So if that's something that you love, then this one you definitely have to add to your list. Oh, okay. I totally forgot about this series too. So many good cozy series, you guys. Okay, so this one is called A Whisker of Trouble. This is book 3 in the Second Chance Cat mystery series. And the premise for this one is that our amateur sleuth owns a thrift store, secondhand, kind of antique restoration shop. That is not right. Hold on. What is it described as? Secondhand shop. That's pretty straightforward. So our sleuth owns a secondhand shop. Obviously, kind of judging by the punny title, there is obviously a cat involved. So already, if you're into that, get this one. But in this particular one, she goes to this estate looking obviously to score some deals to buy and take and resell in her shop. Unfortunately, her cat, who she takes with her nearly everywhere, discovers a body in the kitchen of the estate that they went to kind of check some stuff out at. Turns out it ends up being this antique dealer that's kind of widely known in that secondhand slash vintage community, and so our sleuth is trying to get to the bottom of that one. But this one sounds so fun. It also takes place, is Maine considered New England? I don't know. But it takes place in Maine, and so it's also during spring. I think that the appeal of this one, in addition to the seasonality of it being during springtime, is that whole secondhand shop aspect of it. Obviously, we already know that pets and cats in particular are very cozy and very loved in a cozy world. But to me, having a upcycled or thrift store is definitely cozy, because you usually think of something that is a small business, kind of mom and pop or single person, as opposed to a big box store. There's a lot of care and intention that goes along with staffing your hires and stocking your shelves, and I love all of that. So if that's also up your alley, again, A Whisker of Trouble. Oh my goodness, guys. Okay, stop the presses. This is definitely the cutest cozy recommendation I have on this list, because it's part of the most cutest, adorable cozy series that I've ever heard of, and I'm pretty sure I have shoehorned in mentioning this series a couple of times for a couple of different videos. But this is Bear a Wee Grudge, which is, wait for it, book 5 in the shamelessly adorable teddy bear mystery series. I mean, how flipping adorable is that? I am obsessed with these covers. I am obsessed with the theme of this because it's so cute. And like, what is cozier than a teddy bear, right? Like, I'm obsessed. So in this particular one, I'm not even gonna go too far in because I feel like the teddy bear should be enough to convince you to pick it up. But this one is centered around the town's Highland Fling Festival, which of course takes place during spring. Our amateur sleuths are sisters who own a or run a kind of teddy bear store slash factory. Factory sounds a little kind of high and large, and it's not like that, but like a shop in which they sell them and make them and all of that kind of charming stuff. But this one takes place during spring because there's another festival coming up, and I feel like that's all you need to know, right? Like, somebody winds up dead, but again, I'm hung up on the fact that it's a freaking teddy bear dressed in this cute little kilt that I just cannot take because it is so adorable. Hopefully that's enough to convince you to pick it up. It's the 5th book. I know there is one centered around Christmas, centered around Halloween. It's just adorable. So like, go get it. Okay, so this next recommendation is for you knitting and crochet cozy lovers. This is Close Knit Killer. This is book 11 in a knitting mystery series. I've read a couple of these years ago. Admittedly, I haven't read this one, but I do remember loving the premise of the group of knitters, because I find the idea of knitting circles to be very cozy and very intimate, because obviously you're interacting with people who share your same hobby. Anyway, so in this particular one, what we have is this guy who went to jail for essentially committing like this grand Ponzi scheme. He does his time, he returns back to town, obviously much to the chagrin of the residents there, and next thing you know, he winds up dead in his car. There is a whole slew of people, obviously, who wanted him dead, and it is up to our sleuths to get to the bottom of it. So again, this one set during spring, but then on top of that, you have the layer of it being a knitting cozy, which almost is redundant, right? Because like knitting is cozy, right? So come on, what are you doing? Ooh, okay, so the last one was for you knitting lovers. This one is for you chocolate lovers. This one is called Here Comes the Fudge, and it's the 9th book in the Candy Coated Mystery series. Coincidentally, also by Nancy Coco, who wrote the Oregon Honeycomb series that I mentioned earlier. But this one takes place in Mackinac Island, which again, we're already in somewhere that is set up to be a cozy location because it's a very small town. But our amateur sleuth who owns this fudge shop is helping her best friend who is getting married prepare for her wedding day. Now, the thing is, her fiance is nowhere to be found. And at first, you're thinking, is he the one who's dead? No, there is a level of complexity in this one because instead, what ends up happening is you find the fiance standing over a dead body holding a knife. So, obviously, we got to get to the bottom of it. Did the fiance do it? Did somebody else do it? If somebody else did it, why was he standing over the body with a knife? I don't know. We have to read it to find out, right, folks? Lastly, but not least, we have Killer Research. This is the 12th book in the Library Lovers Mystery series by Jen McKinley, and it is such a well-loved series, obviously for those of you who love bookish themed cozies, but even beyond that, like, it's just a great series. So in this particular one, things are heating up during the spring season because it is election season, and one of the librarians at the library is a mayoral candidate. They are running for office, but unfortunately, there is a dead body that winds up in the back of her car. And so that just cracks things wide open. Skeletons come tumbling out of this poor woman's closet, proverbially, of course. Because they really now have to dig into her past. Is she really who she says he is? Why did that body end up in her trunk or the back of her car? Does somebody want to frame her? Did she do it? So many questions for our sleuth to get to the bottom of, because obviously this woman is a co-worker of hers, and so she wants to help clear her name. But again, if you are a fan of Jen McKinley, if you're a fan of cozies that deal with bookish themes or like library or bookstore settings, totally recommend this one. And then obviously on top of all that, it's set during the spring season, so you've got like this trifecta of cozy elements working for you, so hopefully it delivers, right? Okay, so there you have it, folks. That is 10 spring themed cozy mysteries to help you launch into the spring season. If you're anything like me, I am super excited about the spring season because it just breeds all kinds of motivation. I was talking to a friend of mine and I was telling her that I read something somewhere vague, right? But essentially it was saying that the new year really begins around spring. I mean, the rest of nature does it that way. So why are we so stuck in making January kind of the new year? And I really feel strongly about that this year more than ever, because I feel like when the holidays are over, the months of January and February are really just about hibernating and remaining cozy and just trying to soak up the last of those winter months before you feel rejuvenated to have your fresh start, so to speak. And March is a fresh start. So even though, you know, obviously New Year was a couple months ago at this point, I am looking to March/spring as my new year and my fresh start. I don't know, maybe I'm waxing poetic and it makes no sense. Let me know what you think. You know, I feel as if it's great if you make New Year's resolutions around January, but like if you made them or you didn't make them just yet, but you're feeling motivated now, I certainly don't think it's too late. I think that it is a perfect opportunity to use your own motivation as well as like the sunlight and the longer days to really catapult you into achieving whatever goals you have set up for yourself. I did not mean for this video to get preachy, but if you are still around, I super am appreciative and I thank you for watching. Let me know if you have read any of these books. If you did, what did you think about them? Of course, there are a slew of other cozies that are centered around spring, but I just wanted to give you a sampling. That way you have something to add to your TBR if you're a seasonal reader like me. So that'll do it for now. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. In the meantime, I will talk to you guys later. Happy reading. Bye.